NCAA Pick'em Boys 2024, week 6. We're almost at the halfway point since it's 13 weeks. You get it, 6 and then 7. Y'all guys could do the math, 6.5. Technically, as recording this, we're basically at 6.5. How fantastic. I'm your host, Gavin Lynch, the host of the NCAA Pick'em Boys group. Excited to be here. We got the boys with us. But first, we got to cover a couple of things. As usual, picks are due October 5th on Saturday at 11 a.m. So get those picks in. First game is Thursday, October 3rd at 6 p.m. Not 6:30, 6 p.m. We got a lot of good games before Saturday, so everybody make sure to do some research, take a look, see if those picks interest you. All right. Week 5 standings. As of last week, we had 2 people go 5-0, Matthew and Brandon. Congratulations to that. Almost everybody went positive. Almost everybody. A lot of 4-1s, a lot of 3-2s. Shout out Jerry again, being in the negative. That's Tuffy Wuffy. Oh, wait, no. Peter.
I was about to say.
Never mind. I knew I was going to. I remember in my notes that I had to insult somebody. Usually it's Jerry, no offense. But it was Peter this time. Well, so far we had about 7 people in negative, and that was it. Nobody 5-0, so that's good. And last but not least, in the week 5 overall standings, we got Zach holding it down 19-6. Tommy and Steven going 17-8. Christian standing alone. Christian C 16-9. Christian M going 15-10, and myself going 15-10 as well. So I'm in the contention. I tell you guys, going positive every week pays off. Doesn't matter if you get 4-1, 5-0, or 3-2. Just go positive. Now, before I get into some games, let's introduce the boys. The man that knows it all, the analyst, the sports analyst, the NCAA football analyst, Jerry Stovall, and the guy that knows nothing as usual, that seems to be roaming in the jungle, considering that the plant is in a different spot every single week. We have Peter Goulandry. Boys, what's up?
The 1 week I go 4-1 and absolutely kill it, it's just overshadowed by everyone else going 5-0 and a sea of other 4-1. So I was on the top of the mountain very briefly, and then just got pushed down to nothing. But I'm feeling good. I think I can do another 4-1 week this week.
First negative week. It's a bummer. Took a page out of Jerry's book, and I was like, gotta get away from that. Gotta get away from that.
It's not a good feeling, is it?
It's not.
Well, let's get into a couple of games of last week real quick. We had on Saturday, ranked 15 Louisville against ranked 16 Notre Dame. Notre Dame covering that spread by spread was 5.5, 31-24. Shout out Peter for that. It's good advice. We also had on Saturday a big game, the biggest game of the week. Ranked 2 Georgia against ranked 4 Alabama. Shout out to myself for being the only person that thought Alabama could swing it. 41-34. We obviously know that was a pick'em game, so shout out to Alabama for that. And then last but not least, another game that screwed a lot of people over was Arizona at ranked 10 Utah. Utah projected to win by 12.5 and lost 23-10. That's a tough loss, a brutal loss. Anybody got anything they want to say about the last week?
Honestly, I think Georgia's going to fall off. The one thing that showed that I think was put on display there is Beck is not a great QB. He's a very average person who he makes throws, but the one thing that was just shocked me was he underthrew everything, even completions. Like his wide receivers were waiting on the ball, things like that. And granted, it could just be like Alabama's hard to play in. I'll give him that. But it's like if he's going to play like that the rest of the year, Georgia's going to struggle. They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to playing good teams like Alabama. I 100% agree. For me, it's a tale of two worlds. I mean, you have Virginia Tech that got absolutely screwed against Miami on what should not have been called a touchdown, but then you have a replay that by the rules doesn't make sense to overturn it. I mean, ACC do better. And then you have Kansas State showing all of Florida State what like lifting the curse almost immediately does for your fan base. Mentioned it on the Go Howdy podcast and seeing that the 5-layer beefy burrito is has been fulfilled and beating Oklahoma State 42-20. And yes, that was my lovely wife to see what and who I was talking to.
The boys, the usual. I would say that this last week was a perfect example of how the AP rankings don't matter at all, more than ever. Lots of upsets for top 10 teams, but that's how we do. And to go over the mortal locks real quick, Jerry and I both 4-1, and Peter 3-2. We all went positive. We all got our picks correctly. And to reiterate, since we have to go over it, I went 1-2 in picking the games that we picked last week. Jerry went 2-1, and Peter went 2-1. Now, I would argue in my defense that I picked the biggest game correctly, and y'all guys had so much doubt. I'll take that. Thank you. Please and thank you.
I mean, that's all subjective. Mm-hmm. You can make an argument that it was not the biggest game, and we were not the biggest doubters. It was, if I remember correctly, I was flip-flopping. It was like, I think they can do it, but I also think that this team is going to win. I may have chosen correctly, but you're making it sound like that I was on the Georgia train and just giving all the Bama fans the middle finger, which I like to do anyway, but
listen, nobody's going to rewatch the last episode, so I'm going to stand by my statement. There will be no evidence. Don't put me in the penalty box. You can't press me. I will not be sued.
You already deleted the episode and everything?
It's been gone. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into a couple of games for this week. We're going to start off with Jerry. We got Boston College at Virginia. Virginia projected to win by 2.5. This is a very interesting game. Very intrigued to hear your opinion.
Yeah, so it's just an interesting game to begin with. It's two teams that I really don't watch all that often. Boston College just really came out of nowhere this season, in my opinion. Made they beat Florida State at the beginning of the season. They gave Missouri a run for their money in the middle. And I mean, they've just been performing extremely well on the field. Now, when it comes to the spread, they're 3-2, so they're still in the positive with it, compared to Virginia's 2-1 and a push, it looks like. But it's interesting because I think, especially with Virginia to be favored when they're playing at home, I mean, that's fine and dandy, but we see, based on the overall record, that Boston College can go anywhere and put up a very tough game. And looking at the comparison between like Boston College's offense versus Virginia's defense, it heavily favors them, especially in the run game and the yards per completion. So that's a good indicator right there. And then if you flip it around to compare Virginia's offense to Boston College's defense, it's pretty even. I mean, Virginia does have the advantage in passing yards and passing attempts and yards per completion. But I think where it matters, and it's still kind of true to this day, that a good rushing offense makes a world of a difference. I just don't see Virginia being able to do it, and I'm picking Boston College to cover and actually win.
I would agree with that. I think Boston College has been this hidden gem that's kind of getting overlooked right now. I think they got a lot of credit with the FSU game, and then they kind of gotten forgotten like right after that. Like almost immediately, nobody talked about them anymore. And they've been holding their own, good enough. If I had to if I got a choice, I would say take the under in this game personally. But I do love Boston College in this spot.
One thing I did notice with it is that every time the opposing team was favored as far as the spread is concerned, Boston College has won the spread, and every time that they were favored, other than DeQuincy, they have lost. So their two most recent games, hosting Michigan State and hosting Western Kentucky, they were favored and they did not cover the spread. But when Florida State was favored and Missouri was favored, they covered.
Interesting. And it's going to be a tight game when, if you look at the lines, it's for money line for Boston College to win, it's minus 105, and Virginia to win is minus 115, which for those that don't know just means that you don't even get even money for picking either one of those games, which means that Vegas has this game being stupid tight. The pick 'em is the right move. So I understand the line. Thoughts, Peter?
I think the one I don't know if you guys would say something. I think the one reason why Boston College has played so well this year is their head coach, Bill O'Brien, which, if you don't remember, NFL coach. And I think he actually has made a difference, especially when it comes to preparing for these tougher teams, which is why I agree. I think Boston College as well. I think they're going to close it against Virginia, especially when the spread is so low. It's pretty much just pick who's going to win. And I think Boston College is going to cover this no problem. It's also, too, is head-to-head. Boston College owns Virginia. They've won 4 out of the last 5 games against them.
Yeah.
So I think they just have their number, and I don't think that's going to change.
Well, there you go. A full slate of agreement on Boston College. We're going to get into our...
Virginia's probably going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, if we do the math, 3 positive equal a big negative. All right, the next game. I hate to bring up Texas A&M once again, but they've had some very interesting games. You guys have to admit. But I will say number 9, Missouri at number 25, A&M. We got A&M projected to win by 1.5. Now, everybody in the group is already talking how A&M could cover this game. I possibly get the angle that when Missouri has gotten a little bit of pressure, they're barely winning these games. But barely winning as a top 10 team by less than 2 touchdowns. And that's not a lot for a top 10 team to win by. So this could be a little, a fake top 10 team, kind of like Ole Miss turned out to be, in my opinion. So there's a possibility that they're right. However, if we're going to take team pound for pound, Missouri has them beat by a large margin. Personally, their defense is outstanding. They keep games low. Pick the under in these Missouri games, and it might just pay off. But yeah, this is almost like a pick'em game to me, and I got to take Missouri. Hate to say it, but I really think that Missouri is going to have this in the bag. A&M loves to lose these prime spots like this. When there's a good opportunity to make a name for ourselves, we shoot ourselves in the foot.
It's a lot of bullshit that just saw go everywhere in that segment, because the one thing that I think Missouri is fake as hell. They have no business being in the top 15. They struggle to beat Boston College. They barely beat Vanderbilt. They don't cover. So everything points to A&M's going to win. So I don't think Missouri is that great of a team, obviously. I think A&M is on the up and up. I also think A&M is going to come into this game feeling disrespected because they won and they went down in the rankings, which I have never seen. They beat a decent Arkansas team. Nothing special, but it's not like they were going up to 12th. I was expecting them to get to 22, maybe 21, and they went to 25th.
Texas is the perfect example of somebody that went from first to second, even though they won.
Yeah, but Alabama had a way better win. So like that makes more sense. But like the people who jumped to A&M make absolutely no sense. Like I thought Christian was joking when he texted in the group that A&M was not even 25th, tied for 25th.
Yep.
Like you're telling me that Indiana, Illinois, sure that's fine with them being above them, but
Indiana's
like,
5-0.
Yeah, but who have they played?
You know, they've won me money, so they must be good.
Yeah, like
I mean that's solid logic.
Yeah, like this is one reason why I hate college football is because like A&M going down makes no sense. So I
It
think
makes
A&M is going to
perfect
come
sense,
out
honestly.
and just destroy Missouri. I don't think it's going to be within 2 scores.
So I got to give Peter, like I got to trust Peter with some of what he said. I mean, he's a Notre Dame fan, so he knows when a team is bullshit and is ranked too high. So when he says it, he knows it. But I disagree.
True.
I think Missouri is here to compete. The only thing that is going in A&M's favor this weekend is the fact that it's at Kyle Field
Yep.
and an 11 o'clock kickoff. That is it. Statistically, there is nothing that would indicate A&M should win this. I don't know why they're favored. Maybe it's just the home field advantage. But you have Missouri that's coming off of a bye week. You have no idea which quarterback is going to play. Most likely Reed for A&M over Wegman. And what we've seen from Reed these last 2 games is nothing exciting. It's giving me flashbacks to the Les Miles era of Jarrett Lee and Jordan Jefferson kind of football, where we like at least with Les Miles offense, you knew that it was going to be all run because they didn't trust the quarterback. With A&M, they have no other option because they're trying to be a 50-50 split, but A&M can't do it because they don't have a quarterback for it.
Right.
So I agree with Gavin. This is all Missouri 100% in my opinion. I'm baffled that A&M is favored.
Now, I will say in Peter's defense, the public and a lot of the people that I keep an eye on for their opinions and their picks, a lot of people are taking A&M in this position, which
Crazy.
Yeah, which, I understand the argument once again that like Missouri's kind of this fake top 10 team where they've kind of had the easy route to the top. And when they get pressured just a little bit, they're not winning by much. They're still winning, but they're not winning by much. And A&M could be that competition that they need to break the run to the top. But as of now, logically, I have to take Missouri.
Because here's the thing, though: the only people that I hear Missouri like say that Missouri is good is people in the SEC that try and make the SEC sound better. They're like, "Oh, and Missouri's a great team." And it's like they're really not. That's like someone in the Big Ten saying Nebraska's good. Yeah, they were good maybe like 40 years ago, but nowadays they're a B tier team that just plays good teams, but never does anything. Like when was the last time Mizzou actually won something impressive? Exactly.
I mean, they went to the BCS, not the national championship, but they went to a BCS bowl game. I think like a year or 2 before they joined the SEC. Currently, Missouri's, as far as total defense statistics are concerned, they're 3rd in the nation, only behind Tennessee and Ohio State. And then
I
if you
hope
look
they
at their
would. Playing Murray State, Buffalo, BC, and Vanderbilt. Like, if you're not number top up there, it's like, sorry, go start recruiting people.
I mean, you can almost say the same thing about A&M. Yeah, they played Arkansas and they played Florida, but if you look at their schedule, I mean, they played a McNeese team that in week 2 should have demolished them.
Yeah.
And I mean, 52-10 is a respectable. So I'll take a step back with that. But I mean, if we're comparing apples to apples, Missouri looked more impressive against the lesser opponents. And then if you compare what they've played against in like the Power 4 schools, yeah, they struggled against Vanderbilt and they did struggle against Boston College. But like what we just said about Boston College, they are a surprise team this year. And Vanderbilt, I mean, Vanderbilt's still an SEC team.
Yep.
They still have great talent. They still have great facilities. They're preparing these players really well, and they have a head coach that's a very defensive-minded coach. I don't know. The big thing that's the biggest question mark and the biggest concern for me is the lack of productivity as a quarterback for A&M. That's the biggest reason why I'm trusting the Missouri offense, even though they may have more of a struggle against A&M's defense, because A&M's defense is better than the other opponents that Missouri has played, but you still have to score on offense in order to win this game, and I just don't think A&M can do it.
I think A&M 2 scores.
Wow,
Heard it here first.
Crazy,
2-score
two
game.
scores. You might as well gamble on that because I'll pay hefty.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I would take the under in this game if I'm going to gamble it. I'm not going to take Missouri or A&M. I'm just going to gamble the under. That way I could enjoy the game peacefully.
What is the over under 48.5? Is that right?
Yep, 48.5. And with Missouri being 1-3 on the over under, so they hit the under 3 times, and A&M 2-3 hitting the under 3 times. It's just destined to be an under game. And with a great defensive Missouri and a slow offensive A&M, I imagine it just being less than 48. So
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
All right, last game we're going to talk about, and this one's on Friday, I believe, is Syracuse at UNLV -6.5. Favoring UNLV. Peter, do not tell me that you're picking this game because they are 5-0 against the spread.
Well, folks, first off, this segment is sponsored by Sprite. Keep it fresh, because I don't remember what their actual slogan is.
Good enough.
Honestly, reason why I picked this game is I just love that UNLV's quarterback just was like, "Yep, I'm done playing today." And then their backup came in and absolutely mopped the floor with Fresno. Also, it is Fresno, so
yeah, take it with a grain of salt, kind of.
But still, I was like, oh, I actually expected UNLV to lose that game. The other thing is, I think Syracuse is a really bad covering team this year. They've only covered once this whole year. They haven't really played well, in my opinion. Any decent team they've lost to. The only team, sorry, I take that back. They've won, but just haven't covered. Where UNLV is the opposite. They have, like I said, covered every single time. I think backup quarterback's taking advantage of this opportunity because he didn't think he was going to play the whole year. And then suddenly starters out, and it's your show, kid, for not just this year, the foreseeable future. So I expect UNLV to go in there and really just walk all over Syracuse. I also don't think Syracuse is that great defensively, and UNLV obviously has something to prove on offense. So
UNLV, huh?
Yes, sir.
Jerry, what up?
I mean, I like UNLV as well. I mean, not only is their overall record against the spread very impressive compared to Syracuse, I mean, it's favoring them. It's very close compared to our games, Gavin.
Yeah.
But if you compare offense to defense, it's honestly a toss-up. But I mean, Peter's not wrong. Syracuse has not looked good. This game is in Nevada, so we also got to consider that. That's quite a trip for the Syracuse fans. And even though it is they're going to a Mountain West stadium, there still should be a good turnout because of how good UNLV is playing this year. And I see them covering, especially when it's around 6.5 points.
Yep, I agree. This UNLV team right now kind of gives me flashbacks to the Mike Elko era at Duke, when all they were doing was fighting. Whether they win or win or lose, they were fighting for just playing their hardest and their best. And UNLV certainly looks like it. Syracuse, there is nothing to talk about when it comes to that team. I feel almost as if like the morale is low at Syracuse too. You're not hearing a lot of people brag about their school. Nobody's really excited for it. So given that, I mean, they're still 3-1, so props to them. But I think people have low expectations and high hopes for Syracuse when UNLV is proving that the hopes meet the expectations. So I got to take UNLV as well. Man, a lot of agreement today, with the exception of the A&M game, but that's typical with A&M.
3-0 is gonna feel so sweet next week. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. Well, that was it. Shorter episode this week because everybody wants to go to bed. But boys, thanks for tuning in and giving me your opinions. Whether they're right or wrong is to be determined. But a reminder that picks are due Saturday, October 5th at 11 a.m. First game Thursday, October 3rd at 6 p.m. Not 6:30, but 6 p.m. All this is Central Time. Thanks for watching, everybody. And once again, happy picking.